All right, welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here today for Self-Care for the Soul podcast. I'm your host, Debra Graugnard, Joyfully Living Wellness, and we have with us today the beautiful, lovely Dr. Rabia J. Goodban. Welcome, Rabia.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks so much for having me on.
I'm honored for you to be here today.
I'm honored to be here.
Rabia is going to talk to us about compassionate healthcare for true transformation. And let me just say a word about this. Rabia and I have met this week to talk about, we originally scheduled this long ago, and we settled on the title of Compassionate Healthcare for True Transformation because this is really what Rabia does, what she carries. And, with all of the unrest and the protests and everything, we've had since then, my goodness, we've had virus, we've had lockdown, uh, we've had the brutal murder of George Floyd. We've had the protests, we've had riots, we've had so much going on, and we're in the midst of this. We're in the midst of this that is really important for our country and our world right now, because on every front we have been living in a world that is not sustainable, and we have been, as best we can, trying to just keep going as if everything is okay and we're going to get through this. And honestly, it's been totally unsustainable. And for so many of us who are really passionate about living a life of truth and integrity and having a world of peace, and one that we all really want to live in, there's just no way, right? There was no way that we could continue and just keep pretending. So it's really ultimately a good thing that this has erupted in the way that it has, because we've got to make space for change, and we all have to show up and participate in that, right? Nobody is exempt. It's not, we can't just say, well, my life's been great and therefore I'm just going to keep living as normal, right? We've all got to show up, and we've all got to be present to what's going on. We've all got to commit to making the changes in ourselves that we need to make to create a world that we all want to live in, and a world that is sustainable for our planet as well, for our human and all of our humanity, all of our human beings, for our animal life, for our plant life, for our water, our air, our soil, our earth, for all of it. And so uh, I'm really excited that Rabia is going to be here today, because she's somebody that carries that passion and that expansive view as well, and it comes through in everything that she does. And so with what she's going to share with us today has taken, a little bit of a shift from the original, what we planned months ago. And now she's going to give us some helpful tools and tips that we can use to keep us present and taking care of ourselves as we're going through this huge transformation that needs to be happening right now. So with that, again, welcome. I'm going to grab her bio and read you her bio so you can know all the wonderful things that she does. And then I'm going to turn it over to her to guide us in her special way. So Dr. Rabia J. Goodban is an acupuncturist, herbalist, clinical social worker, Sufi healer, shiatsu therapist. She holds a doctorate in Chinese medicine, and she specializes in environmental medicine. Her focus is on supporting transformative healing of deep-seated issues. How appropriate. She is passionate about empowering clients to optimize a healthy lifestyle for both themselves and the planet. She has been offering healing work professionally since 2001. She is currently developing her own line of flower essences to support accelerated healing. In addition to sessions at her practice in Lakewood, Colorado, Rabia offers remote healing work. And I'm going to post the link for her website so that you can know how to look her up and how to connect with her. I'll put it in both the Zoom chat and the Facebook chat as well. Welcome, Rabia.
Thank you so much. Such a pleasure to be here with you. Such an
It's
honor.
Thank you. It's wonderful to have you. And can you start out by telling us how you got um, to be in the profession that you're in right now? I think, as kids, unless you've been, grown up with parents who were into the alternative world, it's not something that we think of, oh, I'm going to go into alternative health. And, you've done a lot of different trainings and modalities that you brought together. And, most of us hit that place because of not being able to find what we were looking for in the world, right? Because we hit up against these mainstream systems that we're all um, uh, really bucking up against right now,
Mhm.
and we don't find the answers we're looking for, and so we look for change. So,
Hmm.
how'd you get here? And
Um,
welcome, Wanda.
I think the person I would probably credit with my choice of career would be my mom, and to honor her, but also maybe to her chagrin, because it's not the stability of a mainstream profession in certain regards. But there was the book by Carlos Castaneda, The Teachings of Don Juan. There was this book by Daya Shodran, I believe. I may be messing her name up, but she was had written about crystals and stones, and so I love to read, and so I read those at a pretty young age. And then my sister got leukemia when I was 14, and we did the conventional treatment, but we also did macrobiotics, we did imagery therapy, we did chakra work with Shirley MacLaine, her chakra video back in the day,
Wow.
and just really integrated the complementary medicine, and as well as prayer. And I think that impacted me, so that even though I, for a while, was interested in being a medical doctor, it shifted me in a different direction. Um, yeah, I think that's it in a
Yes.
nutshell.
So you had both. You had both the influence from your parents and from your upbringing, and the tragic experience of your sister's battle with leukemia.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And I think I felt the pull and the pressure to conform and to go the legitimate path. I remember one of my teachers in the MSW program, I had done a report on alternative medicine, and she really did not think that was a good choice. Um,
Oh, wow.
yeah. Yeah, in fact, yeah, I won't even repeat what she said, but it wasn't very encouraging. And so I practiced as a clinical social worker for a while, and to admit that I did this is okay. I'll admit it. I was working for it links people with psychiatric and psychologic support in the employee assistance program, and I was, asking them, have you tried yoga? Have you, thought about St. John's wort? Have you looked
Mhm.
into other things to alleviate your discomfort? And that was actually when, for me, I started feeling quite a bit of discomfort. Was never diagnosed with fibromyalgia, but it felt like that kind of physical pain, and that's what actually got me into the shiatsu training, which I signed the contract for the program, which was a 550-hour program, before I'd ever even taken a class.
Wow.
It was just one of those where I was like, this is what needs to happen.
I
And the
love
rest of
shiatsu.
history too. Me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Profound work. Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. So I just want to back up to one of the words you said, a word you used that really stands out for me.
Hmm.
You said you started to go or you thought about going the legitimate route. Yeah. Can you reflect on your use of the word legitimate versus the
Illegitimate.
route you chose?
Right. Right.
And I think this is important because this is what we come up against in the system,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I mean, some of legitimacy has some dollar signs in it.
Yeah.
I think, and some of it has to do with also what we consider real science.
Mm-hmm. What's accepted in our mainstream
Yeah,
world.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. You know, and I want to take this opportunity just to point out something that I feel is really important for not only for people who are seeking healing for whatever you're going through, physical, psychological, emotional, you know, spiritual, for whatever you're going through, as well as the practitioners
mhm,
who have gone this alternative route, the natural route, shall we say? Um, because, you know, you look at right now, I'm going to tie this into what we're dealing with in our world right now. We have been going along as best we can, trying to survive in a system that is not supportive of our natural way of being. Our natural way of being is one with nature and inclusive and in love and compassion and connection with each other, right? Our world that we have lived in has created all kinds of systems to divide us and to put us into separation from nature, separation from each other, separation from ourselves, right? And part of this, yes, is divine orchestration and divine plan, but it's also the system that we've been living in and trying to get by as best we can and trying to, you know, like suffer through. And whether we're talking about the race relations, right, which is a really big issue right now.
mhm.
Also, what has been a big issue is the healthcare system, the justice system, the legal system, the financial system, the education system, the food system, all of it, right? And every one of us tries to say, oh, well, this is our world we live in, and we take it for granted, and we're just going to try to get by the best we can. But it's time to call BS on all of it. And we're seeing that now with the protests and people coming together, thank God. And hopefully this time we will see real change, lasting change, people coming together, banding together and saying, this isn't right, and we're not going to accept this as a way of living anymore. And hopefully we do see, and we see the change we need to see in the world. We need to see the same kinds of change, and I don't want to take away from that in any way, shape, or form, but we need to see the same kinds of reform in our medical system
Mhm.
about what we consider legitimate and not legitimate. And this is just, this is a soapbox I'm on right, well, I've, you know, been on, but the medical system is, it does not treat people equally and fairly. It does not, I mean, honestly, now I don't want to just I don't want to speak ill of the entire thing, because it does have its place and it does have some good, okay, that it does.
Mhm.
But in a lot of ways, it really hurts people more than it helps them. Or, you know, or it does not, it discredits all these things we call alternative natural remedies that could really help and support people on their healing process. It keeps it out of their reach and increases their suffering.
Yes.
And this is another system that we've got to come up against and say, you know, and the alternative world and the worlds that all of the modalities that you're bringing in are getting more and more credibility as more and more people are saying, hey, you know what, this helped me.
Mhm.
This helped. And you've come into it, perhaps, I mean, I didn't come into it as knowing anything about it or giving any credibility or even, you know, knowledge of it in the way that I came up. I came up, got sick, went the medical route, got sicker, and then said, oh, there's got to be a different way, right? That was my discovery of it. So, um, um, I'd like to, and I am so glad that you use the word legitimate versus not legitimate, because this is our opportunity for us to all take a look at what we consider as legitimate, not legitimate, and where we stop ourselves from getting what we really need
Mhm.
and giving credibility to the things that can really help us because of those pictures in our minds and the system that we're integrated into that says what's legitimate and what's not.
Right.
So, all right, thank you for letting me go on that soapbox. I'm trying to give it back to you.
I love it. I love it. The intrinsic intelligence, the body knows how to heal itself. And, a lot of these modalities support the body in being able to do what it knows how to do. It's an incredible, for lack of a better word, machine. It's incredible technology. Um, and nutrition is such an important piece in that, and is not, at this point, being taught or supported much in the mainstream. And I think that trickles down and affects all different types of areas. So it's not just in the medical, then it's in the agriculture, it's all in all these different sectors. And a shift in one place might actually help it shift everywhere else.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful.
Mm.
So, Dr. Rabia, when someone comes to you, you have this, my sense of you is that you have all of this knowledge and wisdom and experience integrated into the totality of you. And you've got this incredible tool bag with all of these things in it. How do you, how do you meet someone and figure out what to, how to treat them, what to do?
But one of the things I love about social work is the idea of meeting people where they're at.
Mm,
And one of my teachers, who is a social worker, she shared the motivational interviewing, and the idea that if I say, you really need to stop doing this behavior, it makes you want to stand firmer in it. Oh, you think I shouldn't eat ice cream anymore? Well, I'm going to get more than now at the store. In fact, I'm leaving now so I can get extra. um, but if I say, what are you interested in changing, and what are you comfortable with? Well, I eat pretty well. I get fast food twice a day, every day. But I eat pretty well. Okay, well then we're not going to start talking about nutrition until you're actually interested, because otherwise it's violent. And
mm,
Marshall Rosenberg's The Violent Communication, where we're supporting the being to shift as they're ready, inspiring them, but not forcing them, which isn't always congruent with even sometimes the Chinese medicine model, which will tell people you need to eat this and you need to stop doing that. Um, and so it may seem like a more passive way of supporting the individual, but I think in the end it actually is really empowering. And by this idea of kind of partnering with the other, they get to realize how much power
mm,
that they have for their own health, which is really a gift that once you have, no one can ever take that from you. And
mm.
I kind of, in some ways, feel like that's one of the biggest things. It's not an acupuncture point. It's not an herb. It's not, it's just this mindset that gives people, hey, I get to decide. I can broaden it. And I guess a lot of people I see already have that knowledge coming in, but certainly not everyone does.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's so much information out there about, oh, you have to do this, and then a conflicting, totally opposite, no, you have to do this, or no, you have to do that, especially around nutrition
Yeah.
and, and eating, that, people, I think they just kind of implode because it's, how do you know? So I love what you say about meeting them where they are, finding out like where they are and what they're ready for, what could be their next step. Excellent.
Some of them really want body work. Some of them really don't want body work. You know, some of them want to talk. Some of them don't want to talk. So I think that is a nice toolbox to have, because, okay, you're interested in going more the nutritional route, we can do that. You want to go more the esoteric energy route, we can do that. And that feels, it's a lot of keys to play on the piano, but it still feels like we can find a tune that fits.
Beautiful. So, with all that's going on in our world right now, um, is there anything that you're seeing more of or less of, or just something that you want to share with the people who are struggling right now?
I don't I wouldn't officially call myself an astrologist, but I also wouldn't say that I don't know a lot about it. And I think that the things that are going on astrologically, what's going on societally, is also what's going on individually. So it's almost like these masks are
Mm,
coming off, even
mm.
though a lot of people are
Yeah, we're putting
encouraged to put
masks
them on.
on.
Right. But they're it's like you think you're just going to open and clear out one closet, but all the closets in the entire house and in the garage are just like kind of almost busting open and shooting everything out into the house. And so I feel like there's a faster, almost like an acceleration that's going on for people in terms of being like popcorn, being ready to shift. And okay, now
Mm,
this. And so that seems really beautiful, even though it doesn't mean it's always comfortable for people.
yeah. Change is often very uncomfortable.
Yeah,
It can be.
absolutely.
Yeah. So, how do you help people through these times of, or, whatever you're seeing it with people in your practice, the times of the necessary change, even though it's uncomfortable?
I feel like compassion is a word that gets thrown around, and it's sometimes it's almost like it's there, but you can't find it. It's on the spice shelf, but what does it taste like again? Um, but to me, it reminds me of water. And I know we've talked about this, but the way the water can soften even the toughest stone over time. It's like it's just this
It
like
smooths
gentle
it.
flow. Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll smooth it, no matter how rough it is. It could be shaped like the most terrifying dagger, and it'll soften it. It'll smooth it out. So I think modeling that for clients and showing them what that looks like. I think many of us don't necessarily grow up understanding what compassion toward the self is. But when we start practicing it, as I think you and I both know very well, it becomes almost like the best elixir.
Mm, beautiful.
Mm. Yes, it is. It's the best medicine I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I know one of the things that you're passionate about is self-compassion
Mm.
and teaching people self-compassion. Um, and I think you have some things that you want to share, some practices you want to share with people today that can meet us where we are in this moment and help to support us.
Sure. Well, if I were if I were feeling a struggle within myself, n- not sure how to start giving myself that compassion, I think the first thing I would want to do is check in with my breathing. And, I think a lot of the time the breathing is up in the upper lungs, not
Hmm.
necessarily in the belly. But if we breathe from the belly, we actually allow the blood or our own internal ocean to flow more evenly throughout the tributaries and all the countries. Or sorry for my bad metaphors, but it just
Oh,
allows
it's
everything to
perfect.
flow, right? So
Yeah.
so I think the easy and even deep abdominal breathing, letting everything open and soften in terms of rooting into the ground. And then the idea in Chinese medicine of the heart is the place where the compassion resides. It's regarded as the empress or the emperor. And so acknowledging the heart, going right to the heart, not in a, banging on the door, making them enter, them let you enter, but banging on the door and just saying, I know you're in there. And if you'd like, I will be, I'll be in the hallway waiting for you. So pressing on the pinky side of the inner arm near the wrist, you can find usually one place just inside the just medial to that tendon. You can usually find one point there that feels almost like you could go deep into the bone almost. It's just this very nice, just really lets you sink in with your thumb. And that brings awareness and connection to the heart in a way that I think sometimes can be a little bit more palpable, and no pun intended, than trying to bow into something that not everyone always feels right away.
Yeah.
And then really allowing the breathing to normalize so that it's just nice and even and deep. And then if we can't feel any compassion flowing, then maybe starting to list a few things that we feel grateful for. I'm grateful that I can breathe deeply. I'm grateful that I still can talk. I know that sounds silly, but it doesn't have to be big things. It can be things that we can often take for granted.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that my digestive system is working well, that I can see and hear and taste and smell. And then all of a sudden, it's almost like that gives the compassion permission to flow. I think it's always there. I think it's always like just almost like when people call in the angels, they're ready. They want to be of service. We just need to ask for their assistance.
Yeah. Beautiful. So I'm really feeling that as you're speaking about it. So would it be okay with you if we kind of back up into that and do that together with our listeners and watchers?
Yeah, that would be lovely.
Okay. So I'll let you guide us. And I tell you what, I'm going to ask you a question first, if that's okay.
Sure.
Because you started out talking about breathing, checking in with your breath, where's your breath, and breathing into your belly. Now, I know because you've shared this with me before about really the physiological significance of breathing into the belly and what that does for the physical body. Can you share a little bit about that before we start into the actual guided practice? Because to me, that was just like, it's another thing that turns on a light bulb that says, oh, remember, it's not just woo-woo to like do your breaths. This is really impacting the physical well-being of the body and everything that impacts. So if you would.
Absolutely. The diaphragm is almost like the tide, and the way that it is moving, up and down as we inhale. If we allow ourselves to breathe deeply, then we're actually allowing, the aorta, which is carrying so much blood, this waterfall, or this a very, very large tributary, or I want to call it the ocean, because it for all intents and purposes, it is where the majority of the blood is flowing. And so through using the diaphragm, we're actually helping to regulate and support the optimal flow of blood, which not to go to a tangent, but this interesting notion with corona about its potential, the COVID-19 potential effects on the blood, And I just find that so fascinating that it would
Yeah.
affect not just the respiratory system, but also the circulatory system, the breath and the flow. I mean, it's an interesting metaphor for the planet, and also for the idea of the heart and the lungs, that this is the chakra that this particular virus is affecting. Even though I know it's systemic and it can affect lots of different systems, but it's still very interesting.
Yeah, it is. It's very interesting, and I believe it is significant because I believe this is one of the ways that the earth and the animals and the planet, everything is speaking to us to
Yes.
give us messages and signs about what we're, let's say, needing,
Yeah.
right? What we're needing to change, what we're needing to move toward. Yeah, right. What we're needing to leave and what we're needing to move toward.
Yes. Yes.
So I think it is significant. And when you can tie it into, like, all right, how that impacts the physical well-being of the individual and how that mirrors,
Mhm.
the planet, the universe, the larger meanings. I think it's very important right now. So please tangent away.
It is it's a very interesting cause and effect, how everything is playing out right now. And so as we focus on that easy, even, deep abdominal breathing, and pressing, someplace that feels kind of soft, like it needs a little bit of support with the thumb, and just allowing the compassion to flow. And it's since it's coming from the heart, it's also flowing through the blood, it's flowing through the water of our own system.
Okay. Yeah.
Which makes me also think about the memory of water, right? The way
Mm.
we're imprinting then in every part of our blood system.
Oh, can you say more about that? The memory of water? What does that mean for you?
I mean, it's very interesting because I know there's been an attempt to uh, debunk and make Masaru Emoto's work look like it's not legitimate.
Hmm.
And homeopathy.
I totally believe in it. You
I
have,
do too. I do too.
yeah.
And flower essences and homeopathy, they they're imprinting water in a different, but it's still a similar mechanism. It's very you can't really detect anything in that water, and yet it is containing something very, very powerful. So I think that when we are allowing compassion to flow through the body, that we are teaching our own water, which is 70% of us if we're an adult, 90 some percent if we're a baby. We're imprinting that's our new normal.
Mm.
I mean, and
Yeah.
and maybe, sorry, I do kind of go off on little tangents now and then, but you know
Love it.
um, this idea of returning to normal, that is kind of being discussed often in relationship to being able to return to business as usual, or business as a new normal. I think I like more of the idea of the new normal as being compassionate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is actually the original normal that
The original
perhaps
normal.
is so far in the distant past that we've forgotten it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I think some of the research on water says that it can remember even things
Mm.
that, even if it gets imprinted on in a negative way, it can still come back to its original coherency. Which, I don't fully understand the science, but there's a lot I don't understand. It doesn't make it not true or not real.
Right.
Um, so that, just because we don't have all of the scientific ways that these things work, doesn't make them not true.
Here, here.
Here.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know that you and I have, we both share um, in that we've both had highly impactful spiritual experiences, or experiences with the unseen realms, right?
Yeah.
And you know, it's interesting because I've been in programs before that, well, but we want to base this in science. And it's like, well, that's fine and good. And we can't let science negate our personal experiences and our intuition because they haven't figured out how to explain it yet. You know
Right.
what I mean? Just because they haven't figured out how to explain it in scientific terms yet doesn't mean it is not real and valuable.
Right. Right. And there seems to be some attempts to prevent all of the science from being accessible. So, like the pyramid power is an example. There are different ways that the pyramids can be formed. They can be more thin and tall, or wide, and kind of more flat. But they impact how the energy flows up into the heavens or down into the earth. You
Mm.
know, they've done studies on pyramids where it actually helps babies to heal when they put them inside them. Like, it's, there's, I think
Wow.
there's a lot of other research that we aren't necessarily always privy to, in terms of healing.
Wow.
That's another topic for maybe another day. Um,
Yeah. And I love it. All right. Well, so we'll put that one in the book for later.
okay.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay. So um, I keep interrupting you. I keep asking you, okay, guide us through. And then I keep interrupting. So we want to start with belly breath
Yes.
and really let I'm going to let you do it. But and so, I mean, the first thing you mentioned was really like letting the diaphragm move, letting the belly, focusing on the belly breaths and the flow
Yeah.
of blood. Okay.
Yes. And even if we're having trouble feeling the deep breathing in the abdomen, even allowing the legs to get involved. And what do the legs have to do with the diaphragm or the breathing?
Mm-hmm.
It's I think sometimes, the consciousness can start to lift up. And so by feeling the feet, feeling the toes, feeling the legs, then the breathing has a propensity to return
Mm,
to more of that abdominal breathing, just naturally.
I feel that. Yeah. Okay. So everybody who's listening, watching, you're invited to play along with this. Feel that feels
And then I think, that idea of opening and softening the roots, that we're not trying to force them to open, but we're just allowing them to feel safe to connect. That even with everything that's going on, it's still safe for us to connect to the earth. And maybe even by our connecting, we're actually helping. It's a mutual relationship. We're helping her, she's helping us.
beautiful. I love the way you frame that
Mm.
about like just allowing the connection, the safety of the connection.
It's
I know I
it's
didn't use
it's
the exact words you did, but
because it's our uh, I don't mean any pretense, but it feels like it's our birthright. That's why we're here, or that's part of why we're here. And I felt like there's a way in which connecting is, it's giving us an opportunity to learn and an opportunity to teach, in a way that I don't really fully understand it, to be honest.
hmm yeah. Well, you study Chinese um, medicine. That's
Yes.
what it's. I think there are different kinds. I'm not real knowledgeable of it, but I know some people. I hear some people talk about 5 element acupuncture.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, elements, and we're elements too, right? I mean, there's a connection there.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up, because this idea in Chinese medicine of, the qi, that basically the energy, the allowing everything to feel like it's flowing, then and when our emotions ease, the chi flows more easily. And
Mm.
the saying is, where the chi goes, the blood flows. So then, as the emotions are feeling softer, and safe, then they're flowing everywhere into the capillaries, all the microcirculation. The blood then is going to follow. And now, all of the nourishment that the tendons and the muscles and the organs and everything needs, it's much more accessible because there aren't the dams aren't up. There's the restriction can melt. And, in a lot of ways, I think you and I both have seen this in our work, that the emotions are, maybe one of the most important things in affecting health, for better or worse.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I love the way that you just tied it to blood flow and nourishment getting into the body, the physical tissues and cells of the body, because I've always believed that, just instinctually felt that. And here you are giving explanation to that. I think that is um, very important
Yeah.
for us to recognize, especially in this time when we need to be taking measures to keep our physical bodies healthy
Yes.
as we're going through such a stressful and emotionally constrictive time.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And when we can use that visualization for health, or we could use it for, um, self-destruction, in terms of imagining the worst case scenario, and all the fear and all the worry, or we can empower ourselves for health and brilliance and beauty. And 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 really, we do have a lot of power. I think that's one of the biggest secrets that people don't, often realize.
I love that. Empower yourself for brilliance and beauty.
Yeah.
I'm going to put
Yeah,
that as a mantra.
I like that.
I'll make it a quote, and I'll attribute it to you, and I'm going to post it everywhere. Empower yourself for brilliance and beauty. Thank you.
Mm, mm, mm.
Okay. So I'm focusing on belly breath and blood flow, and bringing attention to my toes and feet and legs to
Yes.
help me to be seated into my body, connected, and let my breath drop down into my belly.
Yes.
Okay.
And we're just being with all of it. Whatever voices can come up, because sometimes they can, and it doesn't matter. We're just continuing. If someone's yelling in the theater, the movie keeps playing anyway. So
Mm.
just keep letting that flow happen, that breathing happen. And if it feels comfortable, even allowing the mind to bow into the heart just a little bit more, and just allowing the flow to deepen. It's almost like the compassion starts to flow, and then after a while it's a raft that we just get to get on and just enjoy the ride.
Beautiful. I'm finding my body naturally wanting to move this shoulder and let
Mhm.
blood and breath go over there and over here and in my hips.
Anything that doesn't feel like it's getting that flow is just naturally wants to come into greater coherency, and more fulfilling alignment, because it feels good. It feels incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's almost like I can hear it saying, oh, wait a minute, that looks really good. I want to get in on
Yeah, exactly. I have what she's having.
that.
Yeah.
Woohoo, wait for me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Excellent. And then, so that point you were talking about on the wrist.
Yeah.
Is it, and I don't mean to be jumping ahead,
No, you're
so
good.
forgive me if I'm, okay.
Yeah.
Is it, can you show us again where that is?
Sure. Yeah, there's a tendon on this pinky side on the inside of the arm, and I'm
Doesn't
just
matter which
going.
hand?
I would do more the left just because the heart is slightly on the left, and I've had teachers say this, and I've found it to be true that there's, we've got 3 lobes of lung on the right, and we've got 2 lobes of lung on the left, and the heart is more on the left. So we've got more heart channel on the left side and more lung channel on the right side, even though the channels are bilateral. But I think in terms of accessing the actual chi, I think it's a bit more ripe, unless someone has their heart on the right, which I know can happen. But and so just feeling down into the point that really, it's like, it's kind of tense. Oh, that's nice and soft. It's finding that one point that really, um, it feels bolstered by having the thumb be pressed in there just gently.
Okay. I think I initially went for the place that was a little bit tense, that felt a little bit of like
Yeah.
soreness, but you're saying go for the place of ease.
I think so.
Yeah.
In shiatsu, they talk about the jitsu and the kyo, and the kyo is often, if you the kyo is the soft. If you go into the soft and support it, then often the jitsu, which is the hard or the tense, just naturally softens. Instead of trying to, you know, hammer out the hard and push it and force it, it's just, we'll just go support the deficient, and then the excess will level out.
I like that. Also a model for our world right now, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The compassion piece, um and the one thing I really like about it is it 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 really seems to soften even the places that feel, terrifying, even the places that feel, like they've been there in eternity. No matter what it is, it feels like whatever comes up, that compassion, it can handle anything.
Yeah.
And
Compassion.
when they do like those frequency, different emotions and their vibration, that the love and compassion is always right at the top. It trumps any other lower state of being. And so to me, that is the science, or that, at least that's part of the science.
Hmm.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah. Beautiful. It's I mean, it speaks to the power in the softness, because I
Yeah,
think we think of love and compassion as soft
right,
qualities.
right.
And yet, like you say, the water that can smooth the most jagged of rocks. Yeah, beautiful.
Right. It's the power to bring your cat into the office while you're doing an interview.
Uh-huh. Yes, mine's sitting right over there.
Yeah,
And she has not tried to, sometimes she gets right here and walks on the keyboard,
right,
especially when I'm trying to hold a pressure point and breathe into my belly, as we're
right.
doing right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Uh-huh. Well,
Mhm.
they love it. The animals really do respond when we go into these meditative states and things get flowing. Like they are totally tuned into nature. They're not of the human
Right.
disconnect, right?
Yeah.
They're totally tuned in. And when we start tapping in, they feel it and they kind of like, oh, hey, we're in the flow. I'm going to come flow with you.
Exactly.
Keyboard? What keyboard? Yes. Okay. So then how would you, like, how do we know how long to just hold this place, or where to go next, how to come out of it.
Mm. I mean, in some ways, it feels like drink for as long as you can until you feel full,
Mm, nice.
and then in some ways, there's a deep state of relaxation that, just like the end of a yoga class, it's nice to kind of bring yourself back into the present space if you feel like you've drifted off, wiggling the fingers and toes, and just kind of slowly coming back into the space, so it's not jarring, because then that can undo some of the kindness toward the self.
Oh, I love that. So we want to maintain the kindness toward the self as we come back into our space and get ready to move out of this yummy space.
Yeah, yeah.
We want to, I guess that's carrying the yummy space with us as we begin to
Mhm.
mobilize, right?
God
So,
willing, we're bringing it to ourselves, and then to everyone we encounter.
yeah, yeah, beautiful. Okay, well, you've left us with some beautiful quotes for today,
Oh,
some beautiful words, and I'm going to go back and pick them out and literally make them into quotables and memes because they're awesome. I appreciate
beautiful.
it.
Oh,
So,
thank
is there anything else that you want to share with us before we close? Any last words?
you. I thank everyone who is, taking time to do do this work with themselves, because it does make a difference. If it really does impact the world. Everyone's action toward healing themselves is tremendous.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Thank you. Yeah, and what you've given us is a way to come into ourselves and our bodies and our hearts with gentle compassion and flow, and to like reconnecting with that natural rhythm and with the rhythms of nature, which is a beautiful gift. If all of us could do that, and
yeah,
all of us could carry that state as much as possible, that would dissolve so much of the separation and opposition that we experience in our world.
yeah.
It's very valuable.
I agree. I agree. It starts with each one of us.
It does. It does. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right. Well, is it okay if I tell people about your website in case they want to connect with you beyond this interview?
That would be lovely.
Okay. So the website is Sublime Medicine and Arts, all spelled out. Sublime Medicine and Arts .wordpress.com, right? Sublime Medicine and Arts.wordpress.com. And we'll put that link into, I've got it into the Zoom chat and the Facebook chat, and I'll put it in the show notes for the podcast and also on the blog. So
Wonderful.
thank you so much, Rabia, for the gifts you've given us today. I know I'm in a much more peaceful space than when we started, and I'm going to, God willing, carry this with me
Mm.
as we uh, as I move into my state of doing beyond this.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes. All
Thank
right.
you
Thank
so much.
you.
It's an honor.
Always an honor and a pleasure to be with you. Thank you to everyone who is listening or watching live and who will be listening and watching to the recording. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful, beautiful, pleasant day with all of your brilliance and beauty. And we'll see you next time. And God willing, if you want to connect with either of us, you know how to do that. You've got all the information at your hands. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day.